Good evening. It is 6 p.m. I am calling to order the Fountain City Council meeting for September 23rd, 2025. If able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Thompson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rick,
Here.
Councilmember Hinton,
Here.
Councilmember Geek, here. Councilmember Estes,
Here.
Councilmember Hertzberg,
Here.
Councilmember Duncan. I have 6 members present.
Thank you. Before we open public to be heard, our city attorney wanted to make a statement.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, public. I wanted to briefly address the Gazette article that was published last week concerning former council member Deetra Duncan and give some background information on that issue. On September 10th, 2025, news media outlets reached out to the city manager and some council members asking without detail about any statement that the city cared or council members cared to make regarding charges pending against Deetra Duncan. On September 11th, the city issued a statement that the city does not, by policy, comment on pending litigation, whether that be civil or criminal. On September 12th, the Gazette ran the article in question detailing those charges that they were asking for the city's comment on. And this was the first that the city and city council members learned of the details of those charges pending against Ms. Duncan. That same or possibly the next morning, Ms. Duncan directed all communication to her be made through her attorney in that case. On September 15th, I, in my capacity as city attorney, contacted counsel for Ms. Duncan and learned that she would step back from all committee assignments and any individual representation of the position of the city in any matters. And on September 16th, the morning of September 16th, the city received the resignation statement from Ms. Deetra Duncan that was subsequently published in the Gazette. And that's where we stand tonight. I should mention that the city's policy and positions remains to take no position or comment on any pending litigation against Ms. Duncan. She, of course, remains innocent until proven guilty as it stands with any criminal proceedings, and the city takes no position on those matters.
Okay, thank you very much. That takes us on to item 4, public to be heard. Citizens may address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Council may not be able to provide an immediate answer, but will direct staff to follow up. Out of respect for the council and others in attendance, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. And I do have a card from Ms. Weisenhunt, and I think it says special thanks. Okay, thank you. Please come on down the front and turn on the mic there in the middle. State your name for the record.
Connie Weisenhunt, candidate for City Council at Large. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and everybody else here. Tonight, I see that there's an empty seat on council. The seat is not just a reminder of a resignation, it's a reminder of the years of service that she gave, the countless hours worked, and the love she poured into this community. I want to start with a reminder that it's often forgotten in moments like this that we should never forget to thank someone for their hard work and their years of dedication. Regardless of what they may be accused of, their service to our community matters. And just as importantly, we should remember to remain kind to those who have stood beside us, worked beside us, and given so much of themselves to Fountain. Deetra Duncan has lived in Fountain for over 37 years. She was elected 2 terms on City Council and proved herself to be a strong community leader. She dedicated her life to serving others and was always present for the people of the city. She worked to uplift underserved residents, support our small businesses, and created opportunities for communication and connection in Fountain. She established the Fountain Youth Council, giving our local teens a chance to visit the Capitol, learn about the government, gain leadership skills, and advocate for their peers while building confidence and friendship. She held town hall meetings so that the residents could voice and be heard. She helped first-time home buyers find resources. She organized back-to-school events, drives with supplies, coats, hats, and gloves for kids. She advocated for clean water for Fountain. She stood with our active duty and veteran communities and worked for voter registration, autism awareness, domestic violence prevention. She even served on legislative committees bringing issues like transportation and public safety forward. In 7 years on council, she may have missed only 2 meetings. That's the kind of commitment, and it speaks for itself. And yet today, too much of that has been overshadowed. Social media has spoken harshly and often without fairness. Rumors have taken the place of patience and respect, but the truth is, she has not had her day in court. She, like every one of us, has the right to due process. A lifetime of service should never be erased by accusations alone.
Thank you. All right, that is the end of public comment because I have no more cards. So we're going to move on to item 5.1, presentations. There are none tonight. Item 5.2, board, commission, and committee reports. Item 6, correspondence, comments, and ex officio reports. Mr. Trainer, we'll start with you. Thank you. Mr. Evans. Mr. Trainer is not here. Thank you. You didn't answer for him. Nothing? All right, let's just go down the table. Anybody? Nothing? Okay. All righty, anything from the clerk's office?
Nothing here, thank you.
Okay, IT? Okay, I will start to my right tonight. Councilmember Hersberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to wish a happy birthday to the U.S. Air Force on September 18th. Do we have any Air Force service members or veterans here today? Okay, just wanted to thank you all for your service. I attended the monthly FURA meeting, that's Fountain Urban Renewal Authority. And I also listened in to a conversation by the Council on Foreign Relations regarding civil-military relations on the role of National Guard. One of the speakers there was Lieutenant General Mark Sasseville of the U.S. Air Force. It was a good listen. That was all.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hinton.
Yeah, I want to take the time to thank Scott Trainer and Gordy McCormick for their time and investment on September 13th. It was the National Week of Service, so we had a lot of interfaith community churches come out and join on Saturday to help give back to the city of Fountain. We had 4 projects. We were cleaning out debris next to Metcalf Park. We built a little bit of pads for the disc golf. In the Vatana area, we went over into Heritage Community and cleared out some fire mitigation that we had. The chief, our designated chief, came and did some stuff for us to pull out. So we did a lot of good stuff and good service back to the community. I don't know what that dollar amount looks like, but it was pretty significant just for volunteering services for members to come through and to do that. So I'm grateful for those that came along on that day to give a helping hand and give back to the city of Fountain.
They did a lot of work. I think there was a lot of sore people the next day.
I was one of them.
They were hauling a bunch of tree branches at us. Thank everybody for that. That was great. All right, Councilmember Estes.
I just want to remind everybody that starting this Friday is Creek Week, and that supports cleaning up the Fountain Creek. And there's plenty of opportunities in the community to get out there and help clean up the creek. Please go to the Fountain Creek Watershed District website and find out the closest area that you can pitch in and help out. The other one is the Watershed District is looking at their next projects, and it looks like our next project that we're focusing on is at the Frost Ranch to do a huge bank there that's been undercut by the creek, and we have a new engineering firm coming on board to do that. And we're kind of relooking at how we approach some of this stuff and the engineering, instead of creating hard objects because of the type of creek we have. It's a braided water system. And so they're looking at doing things differently, and surprisingly, that project originally we were slated between $3 and $4 million, and they think that because of the new design that we're trying, it's $1 million. And so that's good news, and everything, there is some erosion issues going on at Southmore, basically along the trail, and those are being addressed. So we haven't figured out the solution yet, but we are addressing those. That's all I have.
When you say erosion, you mean the work that was just done?
Yes,
Okay,
along the trail.
along the trail, okay. Councilmember Geek. Okay, Councilmember Rick.
Yes, I'm on the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department's Regional Advisory Committee. We just went through the budget for next year and went over the current statistics. Right now in El Paso County, we are down about 5% from last year on both single-family homes, multifamily homes, and commercial buildings. So we're seeing a slowdown in the economy that pretty much everybody else is seeing here in El Paso County. Reminder, budget meetings. We will be holding a budget meeting here on Tuesday, October 7th, and Wednesday, October 8th, starting at 6 o'clock. So the public is encouraged to attend, and we will be broadcasting that on YouTube. So if you can't make it, please tune in. Finally, Veterans Day ceremony will be at the American Legion on November 11th at 10:30 a.m. Will be followed by a meal provided by Fountain Up this year. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And don't be late to the veterans thing, because when they say it starts at 10:30, they really mean 10:29. So it's short and quick, especially depending on the weather. If it's really cold that day, it could be really short outside. Okay, and I wanted to thank everybody, especially the staff, for helping with Community Night at the Park. I think the kids had a really good time this year with some of the changes and having the games and different things for the kids to do. I think we had a bigger crowd. I heard they had to go back into the store twice to buy more hot dogs, and I think they gave out like 500 hot dogs. And so that's good, right, to run out of food and have to go get more because we have so many people there, so that's really good. I wanted to thank John Trilch for organizing people to go to the Homefront Military Care Network banquet today. That's a fantastic time to honor the military in our community and the members really doing a lot of work to assist them with a variety of needs in the community. And I went to the CIRSA. CIRSA is our insurance company, I guess you would call it, and for the city today. And one of the things I learned there at that luncheon was we are in our renewal contract period right now, and they will actually come and talk with you about making sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck and kind of reviewing your, for lack of a better description, policy with you. And I don't know if we do that or not, but that was something I didn't realize that they did or not, to make sure that you're involved in everything that you need to do to. So maybe that's something we can find out about, Todd, make sure that we're doing that. But that was really good to know that that is offered. And let me see from my notes if there was anything else from that. Just one second. And I also found out that they have meetings quite often with law enforcement all around the state to just discuss local issues and legislation, things going on. And I thought that was really interesting. And are we signed up with their hail sensor system? They have a new thing they just started. It's free for us. It's called, huh?
We have talked about that and we're aware of that, but I'm not sure if it has come full circle and we are a part of that.
We are a part of it. Okay. 'cause
I'm not sure that we have signed on to that, but I know that it's been in
Okay.
communications, but I'm not sure if we have
Okay.
gone the full circle.
Well, I'm going to say it real carefully because you could get people think you said something else. It's HailSens 360, HailSens 360, and it's free. We pay for it. They are kind of tweaking the system. They thought there was too many alerts, but it supposedly gives you up to a 90-minute alert They're supposedly more granulated in just the generic weather reports that you see online. So that was something I wanted to make sure that we were maybe at least looking at, right? So
The citizens can sign up for
it's, right now, it's just for the cities because CERS is their insurer. I mean, and then I guess the city could choose, I don't know, Chris would have to look at the contract, right? But I think the goal is so like if you have people out doing work, that they could potentially get back and get the, not get hurt, right, by the hailstorm coming on suddenly, or get the vehicles, under cover somewhere or something, so that you would have less damages to the city, stuff like that, so. But, yeah, and the city could choose, but Chris can look at all that, right, with the contract, so, yeah. But that was interesting. And then also the dues increase, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that. But, all righty, so that will take us on to our next item, our consent agenda, item 7. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately at the discretion of council. We have 2 items on our consent agenda tonight, items 7A and 7B. What would council like to do with those items? Councilmember Hinton?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Councilmember Geek?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, please vote.
Six yes, motion carried.
Thank you. That takes us on to item 8, old business. Item 8A, second reading of ordinance 1814, an ordinance amending chapter 17.04 zoning districts, section 17.04.150B, planned industrial district PI permitted principal uses, to add factory-built non-residential structure, amend chapter 17.04 zoning districts, section 17.04.150D, development standards, to add performance standards for factory-built non-residential structures, and amend Chapter 17.31, definitions of the Fountain Municipal Code. Ms. Martinez.
Good evening, Christy Martinez with the City of Fountain Planning Department. This is second reading of the ordinance 1814, which would adopt regulations pertaining to non-residential pre-manufactured structures to be allowed within the planned industrial zone district, and then adopted associated architectural design standards. There have been no changes to this ordinance since first reading.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council over this? Okay, do we have any questions from anyone in the community? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back up to the dais. And what would council like to do with this? Councilmember Rick?
Move to approve ordinance 1814 on second reading.
Thank you. Councilmember Hertzberg?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, please vote.
6 yes, motion carried.
Thank you. That takes us on to item 9A, new business. 9A, considerations of items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. Item 9B, discussion on city council vacancy and process per city charter. Ms. Carneal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As already mentioned this evening, we did receive a resignation submittal by Councilmember Duncan. Per Section 2.5 of the city charter, I just want to go through what that process looks like. And this evening, we would just be asking council to determine when you wanted to declare the vacancy, what that looks like to you, and what the timeline for petitions would look like. This evening is just a discussion. Once you determine maybe where that might fall into the thought process with each of you, then, or as a collective, then I would bring back a resolution declaring the vacancy starting this timeline. So once this is per our charter, section 2.5, once the council declares the vacancy, it starts a timeline of 15 days. That 15 days, anybody who wanted to possibly fill the vacancy would gather 25 signatures on a petition, same as if they were to run for any vacancy or council position. They would turn that packet into me. I would verify those signatures to the county's voter registration. They would get 48 hours to, if for some reason something needed to be fixed, they'd get 24 hours to cure that.
48?
48, sorry, it's my
40.
fault. 48 hours to cure that, and then turn that back in. Once all of the petitions are received and that deadline has been met, I would deliver those packets of information back to the council, which then ignites a new timeline of 15 days when that person would, or whichever person you chose, would be appointed to the seat. So tonight, we're just looking for a discussion because we know we're also sitting right up tight to the election, how the council would like to do that, and that timeline won't start until the council declares the seat as a vacancy.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on what she just explained? Okay. All righty, Councilmember Hertzberg.
Sorry, could you just sort of kind of explain to me and maybe others listening who are here, sort of the process? So we have a vacancy and we're having an election. Is just having that position open to be filled by people running not an option, or if not, why? Can you sort of walk us through kind of that process and why it may be the way it is?
Sure, that would not be an option currently because the ballot language has already been set with the county, and that time frame has ended. So then this would now be taken on as if it was a vacancy at any time of the year. Did that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
And so if someone was running, they could just apply for this as well, if they
Yes.
wanted to? Okay,
Yes.
just
Uh-huh.
putting it
Yep.
out there.
Yeah.
Open to anybody as long as you pass the requirements of living in the city for 1 year and,
Correct.
Is that correct?
Same, yep, same requirements to run for council as it is to run for a vacancy.
right. Councilmember Hinton.
So with that, excuse me, with that vacancy, is it just whoever is appointed to that seat, do they do 2 years or is it 1 year? Is that determined by the council?
No, it would be an appointment till the end of the term of the seat that was vacant.
Okay.
So Ms. Duncan's seat would be up for reelection in November of 2027. So the appointment of this would be until November of 2027.
Okay. Thank you.
While I recognize that we have an opening and that we need to fill it eventually, with the election going on, with people out campaigning right now, I would recommend that we wait until after the election before we declare a vacancy, because I don't want anybody to accuse us of trying to influence the election that is ongoing. Let that process finish out. Let that process, whoever wins those elections, win it. And then after that, when we have the new council seated, then we should declare the vacancy and go forward from there. I don't want us to be accused of influencing the election. That's just my opinion, my personal opinion, but that's where I think we need to go with this.
Joni, assuming there's no recounts or anything odd in the election, I believe that traditionally councils have been seated the first meeting in December.
Traditionally, yes.
Okay, so, and that would be, let me pull my calendar up here just a second. December.
December 9th, I believe, is the date.
9th. Okay. That would be December 9th. So, listening to what Councilmember Rick said, if we declared the vacancy November 4th, the election's pretty much over by then, right? In the evening of the 4th. If we declared it on the 4th, the petition deadline would be the 19th. I'm trying to think of everybody just being seated and started at the same time, correct?
Sure.
So that would be everybody, get all the trainings at the same time and just kind of everybody come on board at the same time. With that, if you declared the vacancy November 4th and the petition deadline was November 19th, that could potentially give time to pretty much seat everybody at the same time.
If you chose that option, you'd have to schedule a special meeting, because we wouldn't meet again until November. We would meet again November 18th, or you would, in November 19th, you would set a petition date requirement to be turned back in up to 15 days. So the dates that I showed you, that I gave in your packet for a petition
That's what I'm looking
deadline
at,
would be the last date available.
Okay.
So if you chose November 4th, November 19th would be the last date available to choose petitions to come back in. And due to the holidays of November, that would make our next meeting November 18th.
Got it.
So you'd have to schedule a special meeting in there if you wanted to keep it on the
Okay,
19th to get them
so-
in by December 9th.
So the
meeting.
October 28th date, with petitions being due by November 12th?
Would be an option, because although the election ends on election day is November 4th, the margin for recount for municipal elections is very minor. But not saying that it can't happen. And anybody who may or may not be thinking they were at the top of that list would have an opportunity then to complete a petition within that window also.
Right, but, okay, hang on a second, let me count some dates here. October 28th. It's due, the last day to turn a petition, it would be the 12th. So they could
Per-
technically wait.
Per charter, that would be the
Yeah,
last date for a
if that's
petition
the
to be
date we
turned in.
pick. Then technically, that would give them, they could pull a petition on the 5th and still have time to get it back in again.
Yes. If you
correct?
declared a vacancy on October 28th, petitions would be available on October 29th.
Okay. Is that
Madam
clear?
Mayor.
Is that as clear? Just hang on a second. Is that, am I making sense? I want to make sure I'm making sense, yeah. I want to get some other people a chance first too, okay?
Point of order, Madam Mayor, I apologize. You said the first meeting in December was the 9th?
I think so.
That's what she said. I believe
I-
it's the second.
I believe we changed it to the
Yes.
2nd.
Yes,
So
you're correct.
I just wanted to make sure we got the right date. Apologize for interrupting. but
No,
okay.
you're right. You're right. Thank you.
Okay. So we need to revisit that conversation?
December 2nd.
What's it? Ha- Right? Okay. I just think it's smoother to try to get everybody seated at the same time if possible. And I understand your point about it being confusing. And I think if you go with the October 28th one, that still gives people the chance to, when the results are up, it still has some time to pull a petition on the 5th. Marcia, Tamra, Fred, Jennifer?
Well, I just wanted to ask, are we married to these dates, or is there a problem with us seating the new council and then as a new council, going through that process once the new council's already seated? I just wanted to make that as an option to discuss. So whoever gets elected gets seated, and then the new council would then appoint the vacancy, is just what I'm suggesting we
So
discuss.
the new council would have to, that would be vacancy declared December 9th, the last one.
Yeah, and maybe past the holidays, so people aren't rushing getting signatures.
Well, that's it, but that, you can't, because.
You
that-
have to by the end of the year, is that what you're saying?
No, you only have a certain number of days to collect signatures.
Right, so I'm just saying to think about having the new council seated, and then maybe after the holidays declaring the vacancy, and the new council would then appoint the new person.
So you're talking
As
like
opposed
You're
to-
talking about like January.
Yeah, as opposed to rushing through the process, maybe just slowing it down just a little bit would be just what I wanted to just offer up.
Just got to pull out the calendar and look at the dates. Okay, that's okay. It's a discussion. There's 6 of us up here, everybody gets their thoughts put out. So you want to look at some dates then, while Fred's commenting?
If we did the first meeting in January 13th, petitions would be required to be back by January 28th, just for time preference, while you're looking at dates.
Right. Just remember, the first or second meeting when the new council is seated, that people, we already are assigning boards and commissions, and so that would mean all those positions are set for 2 years, and so that would limit that person's possibility, to participate in that, so.
Gordon.
Well, I know, but I want to
Go
make sure
ahead.
everybody gets a chance.
I would say, just my own personal feeling, and since this is just a discussion, I would like to have that individual on board with the rest of the council. It's a lot of work to get up to speed. There's lots of training that the individual council person has to do. It's just a lot, and it's just you're just drinking from a fire hose. If it was me, I would like that person to be appointed to be with the new council and everything's just running smoothly together with the team. So I would vote for that individual to be part of it as everything's getting ramped up, whoever with the council coming in, so they feel like part of it. When you get started late, you feel like you're already behind the power curve when it comes to all the different training you got to do, and there's just a lot to complete.
Yeah, because any training that the staff does, then they have to do it again, and okay. Pick a lady, any lady.
I tend to agree with Councilmember Hinton. I'd like to see us do this one time. And I get that it's confusing to do two separate processes at the same time with the election and this. But I like Councilmember Hertzberg's idea of buying us a little time, but I really think it's important when this person comes on that they're part of the council, and I want to give them the ability to be considered for mayor pro tem. I want them to be able to be considered for boards and committee appointments. And if they're already decided, they won't be able to do anything. So I tend to want to get everybody seated at the same time in December. So, the October 28th,
Okay,
or whenever we figure out.
okay.
And I
Yes.
agree with Tamara. I think that probably the big thing is that the person knows who they're going to be working with, too. So have the opportunity to pull the petition after the election and know who the new council will be.
Okay. Just 1 second, I see you. Joni, from your standpoint of view, if we were to go with getting the person on, board so that everybody gets sworn in on whatever that date is in December, whether it be, hopefully the 2nd, right? Or if that's too soon. What is your, idea?
What do you mean? What is my idea about swearing
Well,
them
is your
in on the second?
recommendation the 28th or the 4th in terms of making sure that we have the right time for everybody to get the petitions done, get them returned, cured, and then all that?
Whatever the council decides that they want that process to look like, I will do anything in my power to make those dates match and fit.
I understand,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not my decision for you
Right.
to pick and choose which works. I mean,
Okay.
there's a timeline of 15 days from the date you do the vacancy, according to charter. The date the vacancy is declared, there's 15 days, petitions are returned. They have 48 hours to cure that. And then, I mean, if they turn it in on the 10th day, and I call them and tell them their petition is not
Right.
sufficient, then they would have 48 hours from then. So it wouldn't necessarily, I mean, I would like to say people turn them in before the last day, but they don't usually. So when they give them, I go through those as quickly as possible. And then would be an extra 2 days from there. And then once I deliver, then there's not a timeline in the middle of there, according to charter. Once I deliver those packets to the council, that initiates a new timeline of 15 days
Okay.
for you to review and appoint.
So if we pick the November 28th or the November 4th date as far as declaring the vacancy, October 28th, thank you, or November 4th dates, I want to make sure that November 12th being due November 11th is a holiday. That wouldn't affect the time they're due,
No, it would not.
Okay.
It would not affect the time they're due.
and that they would know it when they pull out the
It would still be
petition. They have
15
to have it
days.
in the 10th or the
Uh-huh.
12th. Okay. All righty, Councilmember Rick?
Yes, thank you. I would prefer to go with Councilmember Hersberg's timeline of January, but I recognize that is not a majority opinion, but it is mine. Thank you.
Councilmember Hertzberg?
And I just wanted to elaborate on my thought process, is that this council may look differently after the election. And so what we're deciding is this current council gets to appoint the person, or the new council has an opportunity to appoint the person. Now, the downside is the mayor pro tem vote will have happened, appointments will have happened. It's not going to be a perfect situation. So I just think the two ideologies are, who do we feel would better reflect the votes of our citizens in appointing the new position, is just kind of my full thought process on that.
And we have, by city charter, the mayor pro tem, that's about the only thing that absolutely has to be done at that first meeting is by charter, the mayor pro tem has to be selected. So that is not an optional thing that can be put down and back until,
Correct.
okay.
But the appointments could wait, is that what I'm hearing?
The appointments could wait, yes.
So all we're really talking about is mayor pro tem?
Right.
Okay.
Just
so-
knowing you could have empty seats at a few regional meetings, potentially for 1 or 2 meetings possibly. So, okay. So, not really hearing, I have 2 people that want to wait till January, is that what I'm hearing? And, go ahead.
I am okay with either. I think that she's made a good point with giving that person, the new council, a chance to really evaluate what they want to do.
And I also just want to make a statement that today is just necessarily for a discussion to know which way, to direct staff to go and when to be able to draft that resolution to come to council to declare a vacancy. So I just wanted to remind you, it's just a discussion, not a vote this evening.
Right, I understand. Right.
Yep.
I can see both ways. I still prefer to have the councils come on board at one time, if I was coming on board, if you came on later than everybody else, you always feel like you're in catch-up mode. And so I would prefer, but I would go with the other as an option, because they're both viable options.
Did you have a preference on either any of the dates down here?
I would prefer getting everybody on board at the same time in December, so either October
October
28th or the November 4th, whichever works best.
Okay. Right. Councilmember Hinton?
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier. I prefer the early date, just being, my term's coming to an end, and just going back to when I came on council, it's just a lot of work, and to start late it's already late, and being catch-up mode, and I'm not retired. I work too still, and I put in as much hours probably as city council and I do my own job. It's extremely a lot of work, and that individual would have just a lot of catching up to do, in my opinion. So I would prefer the October 28 date if we're just having this discussion.
And I agree with Councilmember Hinton and Councilmember Estes. I think it's important to just be kind of as cohesive as you can from the first meeting. So now that that's clear as mud, Joni, good luck.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
are we going to take comments from the public?
It's on here as a council item discussion. What is the protocol there? Okay. Anybody from the audience that would like to have an opinion? Please come down. State your name for the record.
Good evening, Connie Weisenhunt, candidate for City Council at Large. I just wrote a statement in case we had the opportunity to speak to it. I believe our community deserves clarity and fairness in how open council seats are filled. If 2 at-large seats are available, the most transparent approach is to allow the voters to decide by awarding the seats to the 2 top voters on the ballot. This ensures that both positions are chosen directly by the people. So you said that that's not a possibility. So if only 1 seat is officially listed on the ballot, the council should be open and transparent about the process for filling the 2nd seat. In that case, I recommend exploring other public appointment process that invites the community input or special elections so citizens still have a voice. Above all, my recommendation is that we prioritize voter choice whenever possible and maintain a process that is fair, open, and trusted by the community.
Madam Clerk, I think there's something that you might need to
Sure.
answer.
Ms. Weisenhunt, per our charter, we would only call a special election if we had 2 or more vacancies. And at this time, although it appears as though there's multiple vacancies, those are term-limited vacancies that are up, not vacancies provided by resignation or other means stated by the charter. So a special election isn't an option. To your second point, as far as being the second runner-up on the election, unfortunately, although it's at the same time, is a separate process from this. So the election happens, and if this was, vacancy was up prior to the ballot going and being finalized through the county election process, then this would have gone onto the ballot, and that would have been the option. Since that timeline had passed, prior to us receiving the resignation notification, it falls under the charter regulations of filling a vacancy, which is appointed by the council after petitions. So that's stated and clear in our charter. That's not something that's decided upon through the council or the staff. That's already set through the city charter.
Okay. And I think everybody up here is trying to do their best to that's what we're trying to do here. Miss, please state your name for the record and put middle button. There you go.
Fran Carrick, what is standard operating procedure for something like this?
What do you mean? Can you clarify? What is your
What do
standard
you
operating
usually
procedure for
do
what?
when there's a vacancy? Just,
It's spelled out in charter.
and so it's just what you're doing?
Uh-huh.
You're
Yep, just like when-
You're just
yeah.
questioning the dates, is that right?
Correct.
What
So-
date you want? Oh,
Correct.
okay.
We're just
Yep,
trying to
the
clarify.
process
Okay.
is-
Just
yeah.
like we went through when Councilmember Geek was appointed, right?
Yes,
We
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yes. So there's nothing different or nefarious or anything going on here. We're just trying to, I think as a couple people have expressed, make it so it's not as confusing and as clear and transparent. And like Councilmember Geek said, maybe some people might want to know who's going to be on and that kind of stuff. So that's why the one date, the couple of dates of October 28th and November 4th kind of leave the time for the first election to be settled, but still have time open for people to, that after the election settled, could still pull a petition and get that done. Because 25 signatures isn't going to take people too long to get. Please come down.
Hi, Steve Arce. So if I understand correctly, what I've heard from 2 different points and 2 different viewpoints, one, waiting until after the election, which I think is a very smart way to go. And then 2, looking at it as allowing the public to turn around and have more of a say as far as who the next appointed would be, because you're right, the council could change. I tend to lean towards that perspective. I understand the challenges in trying to bring someone up to board. However, I think that there's the ability to compromise here. We've already looked at the fact that there's the only major appointment would be Mayor Pro Tem. The other appointments could be delayed. And while it certainly could be a challenge for someone to come up to speed, especially if they also work a full-time job as well, I can see the benefit in that, and just me looking at it as a citizen, I think that that's kind of the route that we should look at. If we can't do it, if we can't do this in a way where it goes through an election or taking the second most popular, et cetera, then I don't see the harm in sitting there saying, all right, let's get our full elected by the public council seated, and then appoint someone from that and give that perspective. I think all of the things that you've brought up are valid. I certainly see the benefit in trying to get everybody on board at one time, because it is more efficient. However, if we're looking at it truly from a transparency perspective, then I don't see the loss, I suppose, of having someone catch up when the benefit is trust in the council and trust in transparency and trust in the public to have more of a say in who sits on our council. Thank you.
That's why we're having a discussion. The other thing I want to consider that hasn't been brought up is when you have an even number and you do have something that might come to the council, you could potentially end up with someone trying to do business with the city in a tied council, and at that point, the item would die. And the longer you only have 6, the greater potential that is for that to happen. And then that can make a mess of some things too. And so that's just something else to consider. So, all righty. Does anybody up here want to, everybody done in the audience? Just want to make sure. Oh, come on, you only get one bite at the apple.
Yes, but this is in response to yours. So as you are aware, I do attend fairly regularly. Statistically, what you just presented as an option, at least by votes, if we went by that, is I don't think that's as significant a risk.
It's just a comment that needs to be said. It wasn't necessarily a risk, it's just a comment. You
And I know, and so is
Yeah.
my rebuttal.
Right.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you. All righty. Anybody else in the audience? All right, bring it back up here. Any further discussion? All right, good luck. There's 2 weeks. There's 2 weeks before the next meeting. All our email addresses are out online. Please feel free to email us and with any of your comments and your thoughts and ideas on what you think they might be, just so they are in the record for anyone who doesn't have an agenda in front of them. I'm going to read out loud the possibilities that we have so that if people would like to email us or send us a text or whatever, very polite one. If the vacancy was declared on October 14th, the petition deadline is October 29th. If the vacancy was declared on October 28th, the petition deadline would be November 12th. If the vacancy is declared on November 4th, the petition deadline would be November 19. If the vacancy is declared on November 18, the petition deadline would be December 3. If the vacancy is declared on December 9th, the petition deadline would be December 24th. If it was declared on January 13th, the petition deadline would be January 28th. Now, those petition deadline dates is not the date the person would be appointed. That's just the deadline date, and then after those deadline dates, there's a potential of another 2 days of people, you take a couple days probably to check the signatures, and then there's a potential of another couple of days that they would have to cure those signatures, right? And then there is no, from the time the petitions are cured until the time we receive the packets, I'm saying we generically as council,
Yes,
there is no time frame in there, correct?
correct.
So that could be a week, 2 weeks, but the charter does not address that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. If that's not as clear as mud, Joni will be available tomorrow morning to explain anything more thoroughly. And any of those dates you need, she will have them on the tip of her finger, right?
I will.
Okay, all righty. So this is your time to speak up, folks. Okay, write those emails, okay?
Thank you.
All righty. And speak up at the ballot box too, please. All right, have we thoroughly beat that horse dead? Are we done? All right. Okay, I will take us on to item C, Resolution 25-040, a resolution to purchase right-of-way mowing equipment and amend the FY 2025 budget. Mr. Evans.
Good evening, Council. What we've got in front of us tonight is actually a positive amendment request for our budget, as we have actually received money to come in to take care of this. So it's not something that's been offered, but this is something that's been received. And just a little background for everybody. We've been working with Scott's Hypenex, which is at the corner of Willow Springs and 8587, or Mesa Ridge and 8587, where they have a distribution plant there. So we've been working with them for several years on problems and issues that they've had at that site and how we could deter those problems and work together. So ultimately, Scott's Hypenex has made the decision they'll be moving off that site onto a much, much larger location that's actually north of Denver, where they have preferred to be to have their distribution site. So within that, and we've been working with them, we talked with them about an assistance on a possible beautification program along Highway 8587. So think of Highway 8587 basically from the regional park, or Willow Springs to be exact, all the way north on Highway 8587 to the entrance into Security Main Street. So for years, that's been a problem area for us, as it's a very, very low priority for CDOT maintenance. And if we could get them out there once a summer, we were lucky, and it just did not reflect well on our city. And we've been working on how we could clean up that area without using taxpayer funding to do that, as that is a CDOT right-of-way. We struggle with CDOT right-of-ways within the city. So basically, Scott's Hypenex agreed, and they are sponsoring a beautification program of that area, so 85, 87, all the way down to Security, from the Hypenex and the regional park. So what that means is it's going to be a shared responsibility. Once a year we'll have, and early this year, when we came to this agreement with them, we had our right-of-way contractor that take care of our other right-of-way areas, went out, mowed, and sprayed that area. We've had a lot of good comments that it looks much better than it has in years past. So the follow-up to this will be, it's going to be a combination program of our Parks Department, our Streets Department, as well as our right-of-way contractors to a much smaller scale. And the reason is we have to have our Streets Department involved. We have to follow CDOT guidelines whenever we send a crew out there to work on that. So you've got to have the safety equipment. You've got to have folks out there. We're doing it. We agreed with CDOT that we would do this at night, so that it was at a low traffic time frame. So when you put those folks out on those medians and those other areas, you got to have safety equipment to keep them safe. As we're all aware, we had 2 of our Streets Department employees that actually got hit in a work zone along 85, 87 last year. So we're real focused on that safety. So Hypenex came back, and basically they've agreed they're funding this program with $120,000. We have received that already from them. So tonight's request is specific to our Parks Department. You'll see a second request come in next week for the Streets Department itself. We didn't have exact figures for you for what streets will be purchasing to assist with this program, so I wanted to follow up when we have those specific costs next week. So this request in front of you is to amend our capital budget utilizing this Hypenex money in totality, so nothing from the general fund, for 2 large brush deck mowers for our Parks Department that they will use on that segment of 85, 87, but they are able to use this in any park citywide. So it's something that's not just going to be utilized there, but it's going to enhance their abilities for mowers on all of our parks throughout the city. So the total cost of that is $50,000. This will amend the general fund budget for 2025 and utilize those funding from Hypenex specifically for these 2 mowers. You will see the next request next week, which will be the remainder of that funding, and we will utilize that in perpetuity. We have an agreement in place with CDOT, 5-year agreement, and hopefully if we can continue to do this and utilize this equipment, we can expand that after the 5 years. I'd like to see 10 years use, that we will take care of that area of 85, 87. So with that, I open it up to any questions.
Well, I was going to take some Christmas tree ornaments out there on some of those weeds that are about 6 feet tall and just decorate them. Are you going to tear my trees down then?
They have been in the past.
Oh, man, they are up there. Okay, all righty. Any discussion with anybody up here? Anybody in the audience? Have it, please. Okay. Ladies, fight it out. Who's first?
Fran Carrick. So that's, that business is leaving Fountain.
Mm-hmm.
Has economic development worked with getting anyone back in there?
We're doing that right now. I
Are
say
you?
we, I'm not part of economic development, but we're already working. I've spoken to a couple of developers about developing that out as a commercial piece of property.
Okay.
Please come down. State your name for the record, please.
Connie Weisenhunt. Hi, Todd.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Todd, I'm curious if, and I appreciate your recent commercials about CDOT, so maybe this is CDOT property, I'm not sure, but it would really be nice when you purchase that equipment if we can get like the 5 or 6 blocks past Peaceful Valley. We have some homes out there. There's a few elderly people who live there, and the weeds are super high, and I'm afraid fire, if it caught, would take their home down. Is that part of our responsibility? Would we be able to help them with that?
The location again, north of Peaceful Valley on Mark Shuffle?
Yeah.
That's county.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's county.
So how do we get help for those folks? Because those weeds are really bad. I mean, one cigarette out the window and
If you'd like to get with me, Connie, I'll give you their Public Works Director's number, and you can give them a call and see if they've got a program or something they could do to help them.
okay, but where all will that new equipment be helpful to our community with?
Not only 85, 87, but they're going to use that in every one of our parks. So
Okay.
it's going to update the large mowers that we have for all of our city parks.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Alrighty, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back up here. What would council like to do with Resolution 25-040? Councilmember Geek.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 25-040.
All right, could you all hear her? Okay, you gotta lean.
Again?
Yeah, you gotta
Mhm.
lean in there.
I have a little voice, sorry.
Yeah, so you gotta lean close.
I have a motion, I make a motion to approve Resolution 25-040.
Okay, we have a motion. Councilmember Hertzberg.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
6 yes, motion carried.
All right, thank you very much. Resolution 25-041, a resolution to approve an intergovernmental support agreement between the City of Fountain and the United States Army. Mr. Trilch.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I get started, I wanted to introduce tonight Mr. Dave Turkmenian. He's the Strategic Community Liaison for the Fort Carson Garrison, and so he's representing Fort Carson this evening. As you know, the City of Fountain currently has 3 intergovernmental support agreements with Fort Carson. We provide pest control services, animal control services, and general facility construction services. As a reminder about what an IGSA is, Intergovernmental Support Agreement, it was established through the National Defense Authorization Act, fiscal year 2013, and Title 10 USC 2679. So it's federal legislation that allows local partners and installations to exchange and provide services to each other. And so we've been doing this for many years, particularly with Fort Carson. This evening, I'm presenting a resolution to you for council's consideration to approve the city entering a new IGSA between Fountain and our Fort Carson partners for the provision of transit services on Fort Carson, beginning on a date that will be agreed upon with Fort Carson pending approval, and continuing for 10 years. The Transit IGSA directly supports the city's strategic vision and strategic priorities to improve transportation infrastructure and support local business development. It has been closely coordinated and negotiated with Fort Carson over the past year, with our discussions having started in September of 2024. This IGSA would enable the City of Fountain to provide on-demand and circulator route transit services on post on Fort Carson. We would accomplish this by establishing an additional division of the Fountain Transit Department and then growing the Fountain Transit in services in vehicles, equipment, and the personnel needed to provide an outstanding transportation service to the soldiers and family members on the Mountain Post 7 days a week, year-round. As I'm sure Dave can tell you, many of the soldiers and family members on post are very limited in their transportation options. This can often be a struggle for them. So if approved, this new service will significantly enhance their ability to get around post and certainly will improve their quality of life and mission readiness. Additionally, the service will include a connection to the bus stop at the South Academy Highlands, as well as the transfer stop at the Pikes Peak State College. which will give Fort Carson soldiers and family members enhanced access to our community businesses in the South Academy Highlands area, and improve transit services both provided by Fountain and our broader regional partners. All of the costs that are associated with this IGSA will be fully paid for by Fort Carson, to include an advance of funds that are necessary for us to facilitate the acquisition of the vehicles and equipment and the personnel that we need to stand up and operate this transit system. Approval of this resolution this evening will allow the mayor to sign the agreement. It will approve the hiring of the needed personnel to stand up and operate this transit service, and it will approve the supporting contract authorities that are also needed and associated with this transit IGSA. So now, in a change from the past, when we've done these before, we usually were able to coordinate this to where we got the approval to sign the IGSA, and we'd have our Fort Carson commander, the garrison commander here, and council would consider it, and if they approved the resolution, and we would do a signing ceremony right then and there. Due to the end of the fiscal year and a lot of last-minute coordination and with the garrison, with the higher headquarters beyond the garrison, 4th Infantry Division, the Colonel Oxenbog, the garrison commander, wasn't able to be here tonight to do that ceremony. And so, in a little bit of a change here, we would ask first that council consider this resolution, and if it's passed, that would enable the mayor to sign it. The garrison has already signed the actual document, so that would put the document in place, and then we will come back later and do a public and very open ceremony to celebrate this new partnership with our Fort Carson neighbors in the future. Before I close, I would like to thank very much the Fort Carson staff again, the garrison, the 4th Infantry Division staff, Todd Evans, Bob McDonald, Summer Earthsong, Heather Spainhour, and many others on our staff who have worked very hard over the past year plus on helping us bring us to this point tonight. If City Council approves, it will help bring a valuable and important service and improve the quality of life with our shared defense community between Fountain and Fort Carson. So subject to your questions, Council, I enthusiastically recommend that your consideration and approval of the Transit IGSA resolution.
Thank you for all your hard work. This is something that has been years in the making. I look back at PPACG, and I think just the transit piece off base to PPCC and the other businesses in the community has been something that's been discussed for years. And hats off to you and your team for finally figuring out a way to pull that off, and we don't have to pay for it. So that's fantastic. So is there any questions or anything from anyone from council up here? Any questions from anyone in the community, in the audience?
Connie Weisenhunt. Good evening, John. How are you tonight? I just wondered if the two of you could help me. I'm always interested in, you talked about that transportation, taking them south, like the south end into the Springs. Is there some routes that will come into Fountain? As a small business owner, it's always nice to try to get some of the Fort Carson folks here into our city, and I just wondered, like, will they come this way?
So yes, the intention is that the Fort Carson transit system would be connected at that transfer point that would allow riders full access to the City of Fountain system, which would bring them here to the south, as well as into the South Academy Highlands. And then also in that transfer, they can get onto Mountain Metro and other services, which would take them, all over. So I think a big enhancement, and I think Todd may have a little bit to add.
Connie, we've worked real closely with Mountain Metro. They've got great leadership now that is really regional thinking. So they have been actually working and with PPACG and the different mobility committees and things. And so the thought of this is, even though this will be a limited service, it will give the soldiers and their dependents access to all of our South Academy Highlands commercial areas. But then Mountain Metro, they can get on Mountain Metro, and as John said, head anywhere into Colorado Springs. But they can also then transfer to our bus service and get to all our businesses throughout the city. And we do have a transfer location with Mountain Metro now on Security. So right on Main Street, as you go into Security, they have another option that they can get on there as well. So we've got multiple options to get folks within the City of Fountain as well as the whole Colorado Springs region.
Great. One more question. I'm not sure if you know how terrible the job market is right now, but how many jobs does this open up, and is it open to just Fort Carson, or is it open to all of our residents here in Fountain as well?
So Connie, it'll be open to everybody. They'll have to meet certain requirements in order to, to work on Fort Carson. We'll be hiring drivers, we'll be hiring dispatchers, a transit IGSA manager, an accountant and admin to help with that, all paid for by the IGSA. And so I think there's going to be lots of new jobs that will be available to the community, both part-time and full-time.
Total of 23 at full build-out, but that will be phased. So it won't be immediately, but we'll be phasing that in. So total and this is kind of a first phase, and we'll see how it grows in the future, but total of 23 that'll be phased in.
Mostly
23
in
jobs.
drivers.
You bet.
And they won't require a CDL.
Right, but Fort Carson decides who they allow on their base, right? So they have to,
Yeah, there's certain requirements that
Right.
Fort Carson, they'll have to be background checked. They, can't have, be a convicted felon. There's certain requirements in order to be able to work on a military installation.
but the dispatchers on other jobs will be off base.
Everybody,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, we'd love to see retired folks, Fort Carson folks here as our residents, be a great job for them. They know the military, they know Fort Carson, we'd love to have it. RC's already, he's nodding his head, he's going to be applying, so we would love to target that military group and retirees if we can.
Okay, anybody else in the community? All right, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back up here, and what would council like to do with this? Councilmember Estes.
I move to approve Resolution 25-041.
Councilmember Rick.
Second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, please vote.
6 yes, motion carried.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you, council.
All right, and am I assigning that now, or are we waiting till the end of the meeting?
Whenever you're ready, Mayor.
We're almost done, so, all righty. That takes us on to item 10, City Council agenda requests. Are there any tonight? Okay, all righty. And item 11, announcement of an executive session. Is there an executive session tonight?
I have none, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, there is no executive session. This meeting is adjourned.